Hey guys, coordinate plane is our lesson for today, the last one of the week. It's a 4-page lesson again, and I am, the worst, and I'm going to try to squeeze it all into one day. But I really think once you get started, you're going to see that it's pretty easy, and there's some really good IXL lessons to practice this skill as well. So let's jump right in. It should be, I think, page 225. And please know that I sort of squished everything onto one page, so that way you can see this coordinate plane right here on the left-hand side of the page. So I'm going to start from the top. It's got some good vocabulary terms for you. It says a coordinate plane is formed by the intersection of a horizontal number line called the x-axis and a vertical number line called the y-axis. So let me back up just a little bit here. This is considered to be your entire coordinate plane, and this is what they're talking about as your x-axis, and this right here is considered to be your y-axis. Okay, the way that I like to think about it, a horizontal as your x, x comes before y in the alphabet. So in a coordinate plane, you're always going to do an x coordinate first. This will all eventually make a little bit more sense, so just bear with me here. So an x coordinate comes before we find our y coordinate. And then you also need to know the difference between a horizontal line and a vertical line. I have another dorky way that I like to remember these. The H in horizontal has a horizontal line right in it, right there, the middle part of the H in horizontal. And what I like to think of for a vertical line is actually if I took my two hands and I clapped them together, that would make a big tall stick. So your vertical lines would come together to form the tall line. You could also think about it like this. In sports, sometimes they say, your vertical is how tall you jump, so or how high you can jump to reach like the basketball rim or something like that. That's called a vertical, which would be going up and down, which is your y-axis. Okay, that's a little background for you. And then over here it talks to us about an ordered pair. So this says, an ordered pair is used to describe the location of any point in your coordinate plane. That means this coordinate plane right here, if I were to just randomly choose this spot right here, I could go help you find it by giving you an ordered pair to go search for. I'm going to erase that right now because we've got plenty of other ones to use. It says, for example, the ordered pair 9, 5 describes the location of point A. An ordered pair consists of two coordinates. So we've got coordinates right here. This is my x coordinate and my y coordinate. And like we said here, x comes before y in the alphabet. Your x coordinate goes first, and then you find your y coordinate. So let's use that 9, 5 as an example. This 9 means I need to travel 9 along the x-axis, and then that y was 5, which means I need to go up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on the y-axis, which is why you had a little dot there labeled with an A. Okay? It says the first coordinate represents distance along which axis we first went along the x-axis. Please write that down. I think this is going to help you later on today when you go to do IXL or something else. So definitely a good idea to write these down with us today. We also called that our horizontal line, if you wanted to write that down. And then for letter B, it says the second coordinate represents the distance along the y-axis, which we also called the vertical. So you could write those down as well. Okay, the last one is the last vocab word, I should say, is something called the origin. The origin is really important to know, and origin's also the easiest. Your origin is literally 0, 0. So it's this very smack dab spot right there in the bottom left. So it says the origin of the coordinate plane is the point at 0, 0. Why do you think that might be important? I think of what's important is that anytime you're finding any of these coordinates, you always start at your origin. So it's always your beginning point. You start at the origin, okay? So our 3 through 10 wants us to write an ordered pair to represent the location of each point. So let's find point B right here, and let's remember the very first thing we are supposed to do is the x-axis and then the y. I also like to think of it like this. Okay. You need to run before you jump. Okay, if you want to get a good jump off the ground, you got to run before you jump. Same is true of finding coordinates on a coordinate plane. You have to run before you can then jump. So my job is to come over here to see how far it's going to take me to get to B, and that's going to be 1, 2, 3. So my x coordinate is going to be a 3. And then I want to see how tall I have to jump. That's going to be 1, 2, 3 again. So that pair right there is going to be 3, 3. Let's just keep trying them. This is letter C, which is all the way over here. So I'm going to bring this down to here. This tells me that I need to go over 9, and then I have to figure out how many I'm going to go up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So that means that I went over 9 first, and then I went up 10. You'll notice I'm not putting parentheses around these, which is pretty common. It is common to put parentheses. I'm just worried about room. So please know that these would be good to have parentheses around them because that's technically how you write an ordered pair. Okay, let's look at number, well, it kind of jumps around a little bit. I apologize for you guys. It's probably a little confusing. I'm going to come down over here to point D, which is number 5. So D is all the way over here. And this one means I'm going to go over 8 first, and then I'd go up 1. So this is going to be 8, 1. Okay? And then for number 6, let's look at point L. L is all the way over here. So this one is very confusing. I do not have to run at all. In order to make this jump, I don't have to run at all because there's nowhere I move along this x-axis. So in order to show that, I have to tell you that I didn't move at all, which means I'm staying at point O. That's not an O. That is a 0. I apologize. But I need to move 0, okay? And then how much did I jump? I jumped up 7. So that would be 0, 7. Okay, let's go back and look at M. M is kind of smack here in the middle. So I went over 6 and then up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that means that M is going to be 6, 5. Let's look at N. So N is very similar to that last one we did. I am going to move over first, and I have to move over 5. But then look at this. I'm not going up or down my y-axis, so that means I went over 5, but then I didn't move at all. And I'm going to show that by saying that I went over 5 and then didn't move by putting a 0. You'll get more practice with that, but those are going to be important. Okay, then point R. It looks like we went over 2 and then up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that's going to be 2, 6. And then S is right over here. So we've got to figure out, we went over 7 and then we went up 8. So that would be 7, 8. I can't stress enough, it only works if you go across the X first and then you go up the Y next. It's the only way coordinate pairs will work. I think of it as like a little maze, okay? So this is going to be really good practice today because this one is going to ask you to go plot these points. So this is going to be a good one. I'm going to do some of these with you, and then I actually want you to go try some of them on your own, okay? So let's look at 11 first. It's point J, and it's supposed to be at 5, 4. So 5, 4 means I'm going to move across my x-axis first, and I'm going to go over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? And then it tells me to go up 4, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'm going to put a little dot right here, and then I need to label that with a letter J. So I'm going to put that J right there. Okay, number 11's done. Let's try 12. It wants us to plot point Q, and it's going to be at 1, 9. So I'm going to go over 1 and then up 9, which is right there, and that is labeled with a Q. Trust me, that's supposed to be a Q. Okay, let me look at 13. Again, I know my page is a little funky for you, but just bear with me there. So number 13 is supposed to be point Y. Oh gosh, I have the hiccups. And this is going to be a good practice because this is the one that's got a 0, which can be a little weird, okay? So point Y at 2, 0, which means I need to move over 2 first. And then do I jump at all? No, I do not. So that actually means my dot is going to stay right there, and that's going to be labeled with a Y. Coming back to number 14, it says point W at 0, 4. So I'm going to then, this time, do I move at all on the x-axis? No, I move 0. And then I'm going to go up 4, which is a W right there. Really, really important that you get those handled, okay? If you guys will pause the video, I would love for you to try the rest of these. 15 through 22. You should try to plot the rest of those. 15 through 22. So go ahead and pause and try those out. Hopefully you did so. I'm going to just sort of blaze through these really fast. Point K is 4, 5. So that's over 4, up 5, which will make that a K. And then we've got point R at 8, 1, 2, 3. So that will be an R. Then we've got 17 is point B at 6, 1, which will be a B right there. 17, oh, that was 17. 18 is point V at 3, 8, which will put a V right there. And then we've got L at 10, 0. So that's going to be an L right there. And then we've got 20, which is point P at 7, 10, which will be right there. 21 is point C at 0, 6. That's a tricky one. Make sure you got that one correct. And then finally 22, point Z at 9, 7. Hopefully I didn't miss any of those. I tried to go pretty fast, okay? But 23 through 25 I want to talk to you about. It says on the coordinate plane above, it wants you to draw an angle of the given type. The angle should have its vertex at one labeled point and sides that pass through two other labeled points. Give the name of the angle. That's very confusing, so let me tell you what they mean by that. This is a reminder for you that an acute angle is something that's less than 90 degrees, an obtuse angle is more than 90 degrees, and a right angle is exactly 90 degrees. So they want you to use these points that you already have. So I'm going to go quick through this one because this is not the bulk of our lesson today. But an acute angle is for something, example, that's less than 90 degrees. I'm going to use Q, V, and C, and I would label that angle QVC. One that could be an obtuse angle could be like PZR, so that's going to be definitely bigger than 90 degrees. And then the 90 degree one I have to be the most careful with. I have to make sure I get something that's directly above each other, and it looks to me the best case for that one is actually going to be C and then W, and then J. That's going to make me a perfect 90 degree angle, so that would be C, W, and J. Okay, I want to move on because I'm worried about time. So this one wants you to talk about distances. So I'm going to plot these points real fast. You should plot along with me. It wants you to plot one at 1, 10, so that's over 1 and then up 10, and that's going to be A. And then it wants one at 1, 7, so that's 1, 7, that will be B. Then we've got 8, 10, that will be C, and then 8, 7, that will be D. So then it wants you to connect them. You're basically going to make a quadrilateral, and if you already can't tell, this is going to create a rectangle. By the way, you should pause if that went too fast so you can go ahead and add those, and in fact, I'm going to get rid of the B on the inside and put the B on the outside, okay? So then it says, explain how subtraction can be used to find the lengths of segments AB and AC. Well, let me show you what they mean by that. This is AB, and this is AC, and they want to know the difference or how long that line is. Well, I could just count this and say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It's 7 apart. But the other way to look at that is say, my angles over here was at, or my points were at 8 and they were at 1. So what's the difference between 8 and 1? That is 7. So that means from A to C, they are 7 apart. And then from A to B, my second number, which was 10 and then 7, means that those were 3 apart. So my A and B are then 3 apart. But like I said, you can just simply count those, or instead you could use 8 minus 1, or you could do 10 minus 7, okay? Last one, it says it wants you to draw a rectangle that is not a square, and then it says what ordered pairs represent the vertices of the rectangle. Vertices is a really fancy word for just your ordered pair, okay? So they wanted to basically know all of your ordered pairs. So for example, if I were to draw a rectangle, let's say like this, I would then have to go through and label these 4 vertices right here. So now that I've drawn my rectangle, I have to go back and show. So like this point right here, we'll call A was 2, 2. And then B, we'll call this one was 2, 7. And then this we'll call C was 10, 7. And then this one right here was 10, 2. You guys notice that there's a lot of similarities between those numbers. And then I've got to rush through, so we'll skip 30. It's totally fine. Remember, 35 is Puzzle Penguin, so you may skip that guy. But let's talk about showing your work today. I want you to skip your SAB options. I actually think your IXL is going to be your best bet because it's got some really good IXL lessons for the coordinate plane. But you always can go to that homework and remembering option as well if you would like. But no matter what, make sure you're doing a little bit more practice since I had to kind of fly through that lesson. Make sure you're getting practice on not only how to plot a point, but also how to read a plotted point as well, okay? Log into Zoom if you need any help. Good luck!